to get us started on the call to action, one of the opportunities that came up as we were developing the conference is we were told about this Canadian firm called Thoughtstream that's developed a virtual dialogue process that's been used in a number of conferences, educational conferences in Canada, and we went out on a limb and decided to partner with them. An extraordinary number of you actually took part in that process. We had well over 200 participants, which for the length of time allowed was truly extraordinary. And so we've invited them to tell us a little bit about the process, but also what you told us through that. So to get us started, I'd like to introduce Phil Jarvis. Phil Jarvis right now works for Career Cruising, but he's spent 30 years in career development and really was one of the fathers of computer-based guidance counseling. So Phil?
Well, thank you very much, Bill. Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, I'm with Career Cruising. I'm another Canadian. And we're the career planning, career exploration system of choice for about 30,000 sites in North America. And we're pleased to help bring Thoughtstream to this conference. First of all, I want to take this moment, because I won't get another, to hats off to Bill, to Ron, for having the courage to dare to dream as big as they've dreamed, and to do the hard work that has to happen for dreams to have a chance. And I think this is a dream that could be a historic turning point, not just for the U.S. but for the world. I think you're going to be impressed on the Thoughtstream side that how much work actually happened before any of you got here. And I think you're going to be impressed how much we all agree on what really needs to be done. I mean, we really do know. If you take these 400 people and the 500 plus that each of you represent in your networks back home, we've got the collective wisdom of a big chunk of the United States in this field right here. And we know what needs to be done. What we need is the platform for getting it done. I hope Harvard and the dreamers in this room can figure out a way to create a safe playground where we can actually have a movement that crosses the country. If you thought it was hard to vote with your stars on the ideas, for those of you who did, one of my big jobs with the team was to converge the ideas. So if you're trying to put stars to 20 or 25 ideas, try to sort 1,300 ideas to start with. It was an incredibly informative process for me, but I was worn out by the time I was finished, I have to tell you that. With that, I'd just like to hand it over to Dave MacLeod. Dave's part of a brilliant team at Thoughtstream. Their software has created some amazing things in Canada. We hope that what has been done so far that you see will form the platform for much more going forward as we stay together and keep building the ideas together. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. So yeah, my name's Dave MacLeod. I'm the vice president and one of the founders of Thoughtstream, and I want to start, of course, by thanking Bill and thanking Ron for taking a chance on some crazy Canucks to come and be a part of this. And I want to thank Phil and Career Cruising. Phil did an amazing job as a thought leader to help with this process. We are not career and tech thought leaders at all. We're stakeholder engagement thought leaders. So we come to this just with the group mentality and how do we understand what the group thinks. And it was really great to work with Phil to help and bring some of that expertise when we're grouping and theming thoughts. So I just want to start quickly because I've heard so many people, I can't help but start here. I have to tell you real quick who I am because I live, I got it. I live about 5 hours north of Vancouver in a place called 100 Mile House. My dad put his way through college working in a mine, and I became a school teacher. My mom's family is from the prairies, and living in mud huts, and she moved out and put her way through college and became a school teacher. And so when I ended up going through high school, I ended up going out traveling. And then I head out traveling, and I went to school. Yeah, I took about, I went to one university, and then I went to another university, and then I went to a college. I didn't get a degree, but I did a lot of university, and then I did things I planted trees, I looked after handicapped kids, I modeled in Milan, I taught skiing, I started a company working in schools, and now I'm the vice president and founder of one of the fastest growing tech companies in our province. So there's not really a map to that path. I really resonate with what's happening here, and the key thing I want to bring in is that I just sit here, and as I'm listening to all these keynotes, the thing that I got is that green dot that started it all off. And you know what? I had someone who believed in me, and it didn't matter what path I was on. My mom or my dad, sorry, my dad, really believed in me. If I was planting trees, he just wanted me to do a good job of doing that. And so I just kept going, and now I find that I'm hiring people and making a real contribution. And that's because people didn't think that they needed to fix me. They just needed to believe in me. So that's what I hear in this. So yeah, this section's called Call to Action. So Thoughtstream as a stakeholder engagement, we firmly believe that in order to get people to take action, you have to involve those same people in creating said action. We believe that getting people to inform decisions, those people that are affected by decisions, it's really important. So I just want to give a snapshot, 30-second snapshot of how many people here participated in the Thoughtstream before coming. Put up your hand. See that there, that's impressive. The response was amazing. People started, we got a whole bunch of thoughts I'm going to share really fast. But what's really important here is there's some critical elements that I just want to share to make something like this actually work. So in order to do a group engagement process that's effective, you have to start with open-ended questions, and you have to give people a problem to solve. You got to start there. Be open and display a problem. Then you got to have independent voices. Yeah, you're all not talking from one person. You're all talking from your own place, and you got to be diverse and pulling from your own wells. If you're all drinking from the same well, you're in trouble. So it's nice to see the different people that participated. At that point, you got to be able to prioritize and aggregate those thoughts together. Unless all those things are in place, you're all building off the same ideas. So that's how you differentiate. Instead of creating a mob mentality, one person says something, everyone says rah, and you chase that person over the cliff. If all three of those other things are in place, you end up with a really wise answer, right? Independence, a little bit of decentralization, and then aggregation at the end, in that order. Okay, so I'd like to figure out how this works. All right, so in this process, there was actually 209 participants. We asked them open-ended questions. People put their responses in, and then what happens is that you group in themes. So there was actually 1,279 responses that came in over about a week or so. And those are all ideas to change the nation, major challenges to come across. So as you can imagine, that's a lot of major ideas or challenges. Now, those got grouped and themed and then sent back out to the same people, and then there was 22,534 stars assigned. And that's pretty cool, because a star assigned means a moment when a stakeholder assigned value to the thought of another stakeholder. Something else that's really important there is often, for those of you who participated, I bet you assigned thoughts to other people's thoughts and you didn't assign thoughts to your own sometimes. Just think about that. You know how hard that is to do in a conversation? I now completely agree with you. I'll take my own thought back. I now completely agree with you. It's something to assign value to other people's thoughts. So I just wanted to give you a taste of these results here. So the number one thing, I don't think any of this is going to be real surprising to you, but it's interesting to me. So the number one thing is you can see that the columns there, there's the overall vote, the amount of stars that got assigned, there's the number of participants, and there's the average star rating, so you can put more than one star on an idea. So the number one thing that got the most stars was improving alignment between business and education, right? Okay, so heard some interesting themes on that. You know, some C-level executives coming up here saying that they got C's, and in fact, they don't mind hiring other people who have C's as long as they have drive, passion, experience, projects that back them up. Education, alignment, just interesting. Number two, reduce stigma, increase prestige associated with non-academic pathways. I have to take 1 second here, and this may not apply to many people in the world, but I have to take the second. Now listen, I grew up in a small town. I live just north of the city. My wife's family, they're ranchers. Now, My brother-in-law's, they're foremans on crews. They build things like the highway out to Whistler for the Olympics. They drive backhoes and they plant things, stuff like that. They're the foremans of work crews. I live in a small town. I'm the VP of a tech company, all right? It's a mill town. Who do you think needs to reduce stigma, and who needs the prestige? Just a question. Just a different way of looking at the same problem. All right, number 3, there's career and life guidance as a part of education. Number 4 is transforming K-12. It's a big thought. Right? There's a lot of things in there, but you can explore that. Number 5 is gathering evidence on emerging practices. Number 6 is redefining goals and skill sets that we teach in schools. Something that's interesting is that only the federal and the government leaders that demographically put mandating career and technical planning as that was a priority for them, as actually putting it into the curriculum. It wasn't prioritized high by other people. So this is just a taste. I have this. Maestro. We actually have all these thoughts and priorities, and they're also broken out demographically. So there's 2 things that I want to invite you to. One is some next steps. I'm really interested in leveraging, you can see this room has dwindled, but the passion for this topic hasn't. I'm really interested in an online capability to address these issues. So you know what, you can do a lot online. That's just because people they got to catch a flight, you can still be in touch with them as long as you keep the other key things in place of independence, decentralization, and aggregation. The next thing I want to invite you to is that this is a website that we're set up that contains all the thoughts from everybody, and that we've been talking with Bill and Ron about creating some follow-up questions. If you didn't participate in this, I really encourage you to participate in it, because what happens is you have a few thoughts. You think they're just your thoughts. You think they're the things you think all the time. But what happens when you share them with other people, maybe in a different sector, it's a mind-blowing thought. And so it's going to take you 5 minutes, but it might be a thought that someone else really needs. So I really encourage you to participate as we ask, because I think there's some interesting questions about how we can take this data. It's a lot of interesting data. So there's a website on there that we can share around with you, and also invite you after this. For those of you that's not running off to catch a flight, we can talk about some of the things. I'm just going to close by saying, listen, from a guy that's out the west coast of Canada, we have a lot of the same issues here. The whole process, I believe, is that you guys have to believe, and I have to believe, and we have to believe that the strength to solve this relies in the room, just like you got to believe the strength of that kid to get a job relies in that kid. And it's going to be the strength, I think, not worrying that there's a problem that needs to be fixed, but focusing on the strength that's really the main focus. And I've been inspired by this event, so thank you very much.
So for those who don't know, I want to emphasize the fact that everything Thoughtstream has done, and it's been dozens of hours of work. We've had calls after 11 o'clock at night. Of course, they're operating on a different time zone. All of this has been volunteered on their part. They were paid nothing for this. And I think that speaks to the commitment we see at this conference. You know, the idea for this came about probably more than a year ago. It was a response to the fact that there was so much interest in the Pathways report. So we thought, why not invite everybody to Harvard and start talking about these ideas and how we can build a movement around it. And there was a lot of skepticism here at the university, if I lift up the veil a little bit, as to whether anybody would actually come to this conference. And when we drew up the budget was, well, you'll never get more than 200 people here. As you know, we had a waiting list. That's why we opened the Regatta Bar. That wasn't to punish anybody. It's just we're trying to meet the enormous demand. We had more than 100 speakers at this conference. Nobody was paid an honorarium, not one. Everybody volunteered their time. They made extraordinary sacrifices. Jonas Priesing took an all-night flight from Paris because he wanted to be part of this conference. And many other people, we had people cancel plans so they could be part of this conference. Out of all the speakers we invited, only 3 said they couldn't do it. And they had really compelling reasons. You know, they had to be somewhere else. So there was a phenomenal acceptance rate. Every single one was a volunteer. And I think when you look who came, the number of stakeholders, you know, Hillary Pennington was asking yesterday, how many people are from K-12 and how many are from higher ed? And then she said, wait a minute. A lot of you didn't raise your hands. Oh, do we have anybody here from business? A lot of hands went up. What about government? A lot more hands went up. That was the idea all along. That's why this was an invitation conference. We wanted to get stakeholders from all of the key sectors, and they came. And so I think the implication is that we have strong evidence that a national movement is forming, that we do need to change the direction of education in the United States. I think at this conference we've done a couple of things. We've defined the challenge. We've heard a lot of very powerful comments about the problems facing young Americans. We've had a lot of powerful ideas about how we can meet that. And we've learned a lot in the plenary and workshop sessions. Now, where do we go from here? I think the most immediate step is that we want to produce a report summarizing what we learned in this conference. We learned a tremendous amount, and nobody who's here heard all of that. Obviously, we had consecutive contemporaneous workshop sessions. We can only go to one at a time. Fortunately, we videotaped the entire proceedings. And our next big job is to pull all of this together. What came out of this? We really had, this was a national leadership conference with a tremendous number of valuable ideas and learnings that we need to pull together into a report. Secondly, we wanted to develop a call to action. What are the key ideas coming out of this that need to be shared with the broader community? And as we develop that, we want to work with Thoughtstream, which has proved to be a very valuable partner in pulling this all together. Now, when we pull the call to action together, and we want to do that in a collaborative fashion. We want to get your input on that. Ultimately, what we're going to do is get a call to action that a lot of people can sign on to. A lot of business organizations, a lot of education organizations. We hope to work with Governor Fallon and the National Governors Association to really seed this movement, to really put a lot of oomph behind it. And as we go through this, I think we need to have a discussion about how can we make a movement that's going to have more momentum and really push this to the top of the agenda. As Nick Pinchuk said yesterday, this really needs to be the #1 issue. And I think many of us in this room share that conviction. Obviously, there's many other problems in our society. The one that we've chosen to focus on is how do we improve opportunities for our young adults, and so that many more of them are going to succeed. And so that's a core goal moving forward. Now, let me say also, because this conference grew far beyond what anybody expected, one other issue we face is that, unfortunately, we spent all of the money we raised, if not more than that, putting on this conference. We really wanted to have a meaningful conference, but we're going to have to raise more support to do the next step. It was an act of faith to launch the conference in the first place. We ended up with 18 sponsors, without whom this never would have happened. And now we need to do that again. But I think we're at a really critical point. All of us have come together. It's been a phenomenal gathering. Even David Gergen said it was over the top by Harvard standards. One last thing, as I said earlier, I think one immediate thing I'd like to ask all of you to do as you're on the way home, if you're on the plane, just to reflect. What are the most important takeaways that you got from this conference? And secondly, what are you willing to do personally to commit to this movement? We'd really like to hear from you about that. We'll share the results, and we'll keep you posted as we move ahead. And I think, as I say, the next immediate goal is to produce a report summarizing all of this. I know a number of you have already asked for the video. We've got to work out the practical aspects of that, if there's going to be a charge for getting that video, et cetera. But I know a number of you want to repurpose that and share that, and a number of you are already talking about organizing meetings to share these ideas. And that's a key thing all of us can do, is share what we learned here with the broader community. We had more than 400 people here. Obviously, there's many more people than that who need to hear the message, and so you can do that as an immediate next step as well. So in closing, I'd really like to thank all of you for the sacrifices you made, the commitment you showed to come to this conference, and hopefully we can work together to create the kind of change we need for our young people. So thank you very much. And now I'd like to turn it over to Ron.
All right, we've got about 7 minutes left, and we're going to end on time. I'm going to go back to where we started yesterday morning when I, during my presentation, included what I thought would be some of the core elements to a call to action. And I want to suggest that most of those things are what we've talked about. That I said we wanted to start off with to cultivate commitment. And we've talked a lot about the need to cultivate commitment. I talked about excellence with equity. Excellence being the promise that we will cultivate high quality in every aspect of the pathway system. And the equity being on two different dimensions. One is on identity dimensions of race, ethnicity, social class background, the other being on occupational or career dimensions, that all occupations would be respected and honored. And we have to promise that, I think, in order to build the constituencies and to come to the shared commitment that we want the society to come to on this. Then we talked about building capacity. We've talked a lot. I don't think the word capacity has been used a lot, but most of the conversations, one way or another, have had to do with capacity. We think about the roles that public officials play, intermediaries, employers, educational institutions, research institutions, all are going to have to do things a bit differently, and they're going to have to build the capacity to do things differently. Then we think about the interface of all these institutions with kids and the people who interface in those institutions, the teachers, the on-the-job supervisors, the counselors, the youth leaders, the community supports, the parents. All those folks need to understand this. And so our job is to figure out how to boil the message down, to communicate it in a way that can inspire people, to get them to buy into the value system, to get them to commit, sometimes to get outside their comfort zones in building new capacity and doing things different ways, and to include all the touch points where we can touch young people as part of this to really get it done. Got one, I tend to not want to play word games, and the relabeling of college and so on is part of what we have to play with. If people say college, I think four-year college degree. Some of us want to repurpose that word and have it have to do with any certification or training after high school. Maybe that's a debate to have, and maybe I suspect that what will happen is just there will come to be a dominant usage. None of us gets to choose, and it'll be whatever it is. But one way or another, I think we all agree that everybody needs some certification after high school. The word games issue, edu-train is a word I kind of like, though. It blends education and training, and we could say all education is edu-training is one notion that we might promulgate. But I want to end by just doing with the two poems I started with, just to bring us back to that sensibility of who we're talking about and what they're thinking and feeling, and then we'll call it a day. So recall the first one was from the perspective of the young person who is searching for the stairs. And I don't know, when I wrote this poem, I had a young white male in mind. But there's nothing about race or gender in this poem. I grew up pretty sure that someday I would go to college, but I tried, and college didn't work for me. I tried to make it work, but did so poorly in my studies that I had to leave the university. Now I don't know what to do. Time is passing by so quickly, I despair to contemplate my destiny. What am I supposed to do when everybody in my family went to college and has got this big degree? What am I supposed to do when everybody says that college is the only way to get where I should be? I'm asking you these things because I really need to know if there's some hope that I can find my own career. I'm asking you these things because they say that you're somebody who can help me push myself and persevere. Please help me find a way to keep believing I'm somebody other people can respect instead of fear. Please help me find a way to get invited to the party instead of being told to disappear. I thank you in advance for helping me to find a pathway. People say that you're someone who really cares. I thank you in advance for letting people in high places know that kids like me are searching for the stairs. And the other was hardships and distractions. I'm going to have my dinner at my grandma's house today. My mom's is staying late for work to make some extra pay. Got a lot of homework, but I'm worried about my mom, so that makes it hard to concentrate. My mind feels like a bomb. Also got to make sure I wash some clothes to wear, and I got to get that stuff I need to tame my crazy hair. And while I'm doing that, I'll use the phone to make some calls to tell my friends the time and place for Friday at the mall. And sometime between now and then, I got to get some dough because I ain't going to the mall all destitute and po'. I know I should focus on that test I got in math, but my English paper's due soon too. I need some help, real bad. Some teachers think I just don't care. Some think I'm not trying. I think I'm caught in a trap. Sometimes I just start crying. But no one ever sees my tears because I just show the tough side. I like to seem real in control. If not book smart, then streetwise. I wish my teachers understood what it's like to be me, to see my life the way I do, the whole complexity. They see how hard it is to keep so many things in focus. They see how blurry things can get, how stuff can seem so hopeless. My teacher said I best be ready when I take that test in math, but I ain't got no help at home. Never knew my dad. Want to go to college, but for that I need good grades, and based on what my grades are now, there may not be a way. I don't know what I'm going to do. I need someone who's wise to help me figure out which way to turn, to empathize. But let me stop daydreaming, because I've got a lot to do. If I don't start my homework soon, I never will get through. If I try and still can't do it, well, just won't hand it in. But if I don't try, I'll never know. So here goes. I'll begin. Every day I pray to find someone to guide me and to care. Is there any chance that you can be the answer to my prayer? We're done. Thank you for being here, and see you down the road.